Derek and the Dominoes.
Derek and the Dominoes.
Layla!
The end of Layla.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Great Measures. My name is Richard. This is Judson.
Great measures. Great measures.
Gonna do some sleep token.
All right. Sleep token.
This is a song called Gethsemane, which is apparently the song we should have done when we did Infinite Baths.
But we're not doing this because we were told to do it. We're doing this because we like sleep token.
I still have not listened to any other songs. I've kind of been putting it off so we could do a couple more.
You haven't listened to this song?
No.
Good, good.
So we'll be hearing this for the first time together.
Cool. I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, fire it up. This is Gethsemane.
Fire it up.
Fire it up, boys.
Fire it up, Richard.
By Sleep Token.
Proceed.
I wanted you to know I've learned to live without it. And even though it's cold and now I no longer feel surrounded, and you never listen to me, and that's the thing I tell the others. You were my Harlequin bride, I was your undercover lover, but no, you never saw me naked. You wouldn't even touch me, except if you were wasted. But you were trying your best, and that's the thing I tell the others. I was your robot companion. You were my favorite color, and oh, nothing to lose, but I would have given anything to get closer to you and all your enemies. I've got a few of my own, and this throne didn't come with a gun, so I got a different energy. I still see you when the lights get low, I still hear you when I'm on my own. The parasites in the nightmares calling my name like this one's for you and your problems, your good day job, your bad karma. What are you afraid of? The same trauma, show me what you're made of. Cause you talk about your constant pain like I ain't got none. And I've learned to live beside it, and even though it's over now, I will always be reminded.
What do you think, Richard?
So having heard so far, we both enjoyed Emergence. I listened to Caramel a handful of times. It wasn't really my thing. We did Infinite Baths. I was somewhere in the middle on it. And then this one, while it's not something I personally am going to be driving down the road and listening to in my car, I fully get it. And I get why this album is at the top of all the charts right now, and has been for a week or so. When we were listening, especially that closing section where it's just straight up R&B with a little bit of like a trap beat behind it. Like I picture, and this is just my brain being weird, but I picture a Gen Z kid walking through a store in the mall and hearing that ending section of this song playing, figuring out who it is, and then going and listening to this album and being struck by the heavier parts, the more intense parts, when they bring in the distorted guitars. I mean, this is an album that would be a major, and this is where I'm saying I get it. It would be a major gateway into the world of metal for somebody who doesn't know the world of metal, because of the metal parts of these songs.
Because of the metal parts of the songs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're probably, and like I said, I'm focusing on the scenario where someone overhears the poppier parts or the more popular sounding parts to these songs and being attracted to it and wanting to hear more of it, and then going and checking this album out. And because Sleep Token does so much of the other softer stuff, maybe not being as struck by or scared off, turned off by the heavier stuff, because they're like, oh, they have this softer side. Where, somebody who's never listened to metal is not going to go listen to Morbid Angel or Deicide or somebody like that and go, yeah, I get it. They're going to be scared of it, which I think happens to a lot of people when they first hear that kind of stuff. They know how to write really catchy lines and really catchy vocal deliveries. It's also, I was picturing somebody listening to this album for the first time and being inspired to get into the drums because of it. Because the drummer is just otherworldly incredible.
Yep.
Like I said, it's not a song that I'm just going to get in my car when I leave here and turn on and be like, I got to hear that again. But I get it. Did I say that? I think that's how I feel about it. Let me say this. I love that about it, because the more people that find their way into the metal world, the larger my personal community gets.
Well, I don't know that. I sort of disagree. You know, they have metal parts, and they've been heavier in the past.
Sure.
They have songs that stay heavy the entire time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good idea what they're doing with the separate parts and the style in which he's singing, and then some of the musical, the bass and the drum parts, like the end of the song, are generalized hip hop stuff right now.
Sure.
And there is and I'm a little older than, I'm not a teenager, so I was thinking, well, I remember when I was listening to Radiohead when I was 15, when I was 16, and even now I can swim inside of Radiohead and get emotional when I listen to that music. And while it seems like some of these lyrics are targeted for younger individuals, some of the vernacular is just like what people say, what some of the kids are saying today, like just some of the new slang, I guess, that comes out, which it does,
Sure.
periodically. And so I was trying to think about it in that sense, but Sleep Token does really well at constructing a song that's pleasing to listen to. They don't necessarily hang on to parts too long, even though I think some of the sleepier parts of the song, they do give you a breath in between the heavier stuff. But I find difficulty connecting with some of these, because the song itself is about a relationship, being involved in a relationship that is sort of over, and one person giving of themselves to someone else, and they're not true to themselves, and they realize that, he had a blindfold on, he was your robot companion, that kind of stuff. Everybody's sort of been in that. But those elements are, when you've sort of been through relationships and you've sort of seen, when you've learned those lessons, you don't tend to fall into them so easy, and thinking about the smell of somebody's cigarette ash on your clothes, those are elements in younger relationships when you haven't had your heart broken over and over and over, and then you figure out, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't wear a blindfold anymore. I don't need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it seems like some of it is tailored to a younger crowd on purpose, which is fine. But it also, so then I'm listening just to the music. Now, the one thing about Sleep Token that I like are the names of their songs and some of some of their terminologies. Gethsemane is the garden where Jesus was betrayed by Judas in the Bible. So the song is sort of about emotional betrayal, it seems like to me.
Okay.
And he has a way with words where he really like Harlequin Queen or whatever he said there, and I'm your undercover lover. Those are all really cool words to put together. But it just seems like some of it is tailored for a younger audience rather than the broader sense. And then I go back to saying, well, you think it's a gateway to metal. It's just I would, there's going to be a stopping point, because I think this song was badass in the parts where they come in and the drums and the guitar and the bass are just that stuff is so cool. I don't know if that was the pre-chorus. See, that's the other thing, is that I like how they set up their songs where it's not just formula like A B A B A B C B. I like that they go into they have structured parts and you sort of travel through a time space.
Each song seems to be its own little journey.
Yeah, but the journey itself is a structure. They have a formula that they go quietly into a place, and then they bust out with this thing, and then they pull it back from you, and then they're in space again, and then they drop a little beat on you, and it gets hip-hoppy. I like the sound of all that hip hop stuff with the da 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 da. I like the flow of it, you know. But it gets boring to me. It just gets boring to me. I think
That part at the end, I felt like it could have been shorter.
Yeah, and I get, that's one of my problems with some of the modern hip hop, at least, is that it all kind of sounds the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's just not a lot of thumping going on. There's
Sure.
just not a lot of, in the mainstream, I'm talking about the mainstream stuff. But, you know, again, I kind of agree with you. I can see why people are, there's a lot of emotional sound in their music. So you can get enveloped if you are an emotional roller coaster and you're trying to figure them out and you haven't really. And I know there's some older. I know that I'm not saying that this music isn't for everybody in some sense. I'm just saying I can see how this is such. There's such an emotion in it. They are. Sleep Token is really good about provoking emotion with their sound, with their noises. People that are going to be more susceptible to kind of go to that are people that are sort of grappling with their, and you know, we have that in today's culture where everybody is feeling all kinds of things all the time, and they're allowed to feel all these things, and that's all great. And you know, some of that stuff I'm a little bit, you know, I feel like you're being very this way to me, you know. Well, I don't. Some of that, like, I don't care.
Sure.
Because, I mean, I care, but you know what I mean. Like to be too controlled by your emotions, I have found is not the way to go.
Yeah.
You can't, to make emotional decisions, to let that guide you, to let that guide me. I always find myself in a tough spot.
Yeah.
You know, there's a difference between emotions and feelings. They're not the same thing. Emotions are the initial reaction. You know, if we're walking past each other and you step on my foot and I'm having a bad day, my emotion immediately is I want to come kick your ass. Mm-hmm. But then you turn to me and say, "My bad, man. I tripped over this thing." Yeah. And then I evaluate the situation and go, well, he didn't mean to do that, you know? And then I develop a feeling about the situation. Well, I reacted too quickly. He's cool because he apologized and he didn't mean to do it. And then my feeling on it is it was just, I'm glad I got to meet a new person and have a thing. But my emotion is in the beginning of it's an immediate thing. It's like an innate reaction, whereas the feeling is developed through logical discernment later. So to be ruled by one's emotions tends to be an erratic and it seems like a young man's game. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, you know, we were talking about this earlier. There are just pieces of music that have no words, that are not telling you anything, classical music, that I will cry all day to. Mm-hmm. Because music just moves me, and they're good at doing that. Yeah, they're good at using their sound to evoke emotion, and with the whole praise thing, that's sort of what you do. You could go to a church service and hear the music that they're playing and be moved just by the chords that they use, which they generally stay within a formula. And Sleep Token is doing that kind of stuff when they're. Or, you know, they have these, it's the same kind of, you know, emotional movement that is in praise music in church. And you can get moved by that stuff. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it's tailored to do, you know. We know that certain frequencies and tones do certain things to your body and to your brain chemistry. So I like all of that. I prefer Sleep Token, though, more. Well, and I love quiet, spacey stuff. Yeah. I do. You know, and I mean, I could listen to a 30-minute Pink Floyd just all day long. And Pink Floyd, you know, they have to be an influence on these guys because Pink Floyd did that stuff. They would play a sunrise basically, and then bring it back down. Mm-hmm. But I prefer Sleep Token when they're, you know, and the drummer is dictating what they're doing. Yeah. I just think that's so badass, and they're so good at that. The singer is really, he has a great voice.
Dude, I'm glad you went there, because just his range alone in this song.
Yeah, he goes all over. Yeah.
He's got so many different levels that he can go to. And
The first part of the song where he's just singing in his falsetto, that's so cool that he began it that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
No, his range, it impressed me in this song. I mean, the only thing he didn't do was harsh screaming in this one. You know, he pretty much went everywhere else along the spectrum. And it impressed me. I did not anticipate that. I was really afraid that I wasn't gonna like this one, and I kept telling myself, just let it happen, just listen to it, just be open about it, because I just didn't like Caramel. It especially coming off of us listening to Emergence and both enjoying it as much as we did, and it kind of set the tone for what was to come. And then they dropped Caramel, and I was like, what have they done here? And I kind of let that affect how I listened to the next song.
Well, but that's natural.
Yeah. I'm not saying I shouldn't have done that. I'm just saying that's what happened. But this one, I kind of coached myself up. And, you know, I've been putting this one off because I didn't want to not like it. But also, I'm not going to lie about how I feel about it. But I get it. I mean, I had bands that led me down the metal road, you know?
I just don't see how these guys are ultimately going to lead anybody down a metal road. Not with this album. There's too many there's too much hip hoppy, quiet, soul stuff. You know, maybe it'll lead them to it, but it feels like the parts that are quieter and these soul-wrenching parts are the parts that are really hooking the hardcore crowd. The Sleep Token cult is what and I say that, and you know, there are bands that develop these.
Sure.
You know, you have Tool hardcore fans. I'm a hardcore fan of a hippie jam band, you know, and I'm not sure how welcome metal fans like you are going to be in the Sleep Token collective, in a sense, because you're more hardcore. These guys do hardcore stuff, but this album is, you know, tell me what Metallica's Caramel is. Tell me what Metallica's this song is. You know what I mean? Metal is metal all the time. Does that make sense? Yeah. And these guys they do a little bit of metal, and then they are not metal. What they're wearing may be, but the sound is not. There's this I'm misunderstood all the time. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. Everybody's been there. Yeah. But you lose some of that as you have more experience, life experience, right? And when my heart is now perpetually broken. Yeah. Right? So when the first...
You eventually die on the inside.
Yeah. Metal. Right?
Yeah.
So
that is life.
Yeah. So there are these, you know, things inside of Sleep Token that I really think are cool, but I think that the things they offer a wide range of things. But I think that because of the widespread popularity of this band that it's recently achieving, number one, I think some of you Sleep Token fans are going to find it very difficult now that a wider range of people are going to come to you. You're not going to shows anymore where it's just y'all dressed up with 2,000 people in a room. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're going to have to learn how to allow other people to come in that popular space, because Sleep Token is playing songs that are like that. Tool fans don't have to worry about anybody coming into their space. They're all Tool people. If they're new listeners, they are diehard Tool, and everybody else sucks but Tool. Yeah. Where everybody sucks but Sleep Token to a lot of Sleep Token fans, but because they're number one on the charts, they're getting other make room.
Number one on the charts means that a lot more people are listening to this
Make
than
room.
they're going to fill out a 3,000 seat
Right, make
auditorium.
room, man. And there's going to be a lot more opinions, you know. And I think that's you know, like I said, I'm a fan of Fish, and we have people don't know who Fish are. A lot of people don't know who Fish are, but the people that do, and they are they're now woven in the culture. You know what I mean? They have. You'd be surprised of all the compliment. Did you know that they
Emphasis on culture.
Yeah. You know they were on the list for the Hall of Fame.
The Rock and Roll
Hall of Fame. They were on the list, and then they do this thing where they let fans vote for what bands should go in, and they by far got more votes than anybody else, and then weren't included.
It's a cult.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we are sort of aware that, you know, new people come to it. New people kind of come put their thing on it. But we're also, as a Fish fan, your album's not number one on the charts. You don't have to worry. You know, they're not so accessible. If you don't want to hear somebody jam for 20 minutes on something, then that's not all they do, obviously. But all I'm saying is I'm aware of the cults that kind of go around with bands. But it's seldom that a band that has a cult in it gets this level of notoriety to where now, if there's that many Sleep Token fans that just woke up and
they don't fit in your back pocket anymore.
No, and they're not just yours anymore. They're not this personal, you know, my Sleep Token. And you know, to have the one thing that's like Tool fans, I just use these two examples because I know them a little better, but if I were to come up and tell a Tool fan, your band sucks and I don't want to hear it, they'll be like, good.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Well, they're mine. Mm-hmm. You know, if you come up to me and say, Fish sucks, but I don't like it, I'll say, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
You know, you should come see them, and then you know, we welcome people, and if you don't like it, I totally understand. But if you say Sleep Token sucks, you know, well, you're a hater, you're a this, you're a that. But then I guess my question is, if Sleep Token core fans are so caught up in opinions of their band from other people that they don't like, that means on the upside that everybody should like them. And I guess what I'm saying is be ready, because a lot more people are liking them. And like you said,
The tickets to the shows are about to get way more expensive.
Yep, and they're going to be people standing around you that
Ticketmaster is going to screw you over.
not like your people in a sense, and you're going to have to sort of deal with that. And I'm interested to see how that goes. I think the music itself warrants the attention that it's getting.
Yeah.
I do that. I will say that for sure. But
Agreed.
I'm sort of moving a little bit away from Sleep Token because I want more of the drummer, guitar, bass, badassery. And they're giving us little snippets of that, surrounded by these hip-hoppy, you know, emotional, my heart's ripped out sections, you know. And that's great.
And those of you that are watching, let us know, because I'm not going to listen to anything else for the sake of listening to it together here. Mm-hmm. So let us know if there is a song on this album that is heavier on the instruments, heavier on the distorted parts, heavier.
The only reason we listened to this song is because you told us to.
Yeah.
Not that we wouldn't have listened to more Sleep Token, but, you know, Richard coined the term Sleep Token fatigue. I love it. Not as a shot at the band, but it's because of fatigue and sleep and tiredness, and they do have sleepy parts, and I am a little fatigued by those softer parts. I want more of the rock and metal parts.
Yeah.
Because to me there's more. They have so much the musicianship, and like you said, the drummer. It's just more exciting to me.
Sure.
There's just more in there for me to chew on.
Yeah.
Than the parts. And I love those parts. Like I said, I'm a big Radiohead fan. I love Radiohead. And they have this space that they create, and a vocalist that's very unique, who whines at times. I said that Vessel whined, and he does whine. Every singer, and even Celine whines at times.
Sure.
Beautifully.
God bless her.
Beautifully. But, so, we're not trying to have an opinion here to say, rah, 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 rah. It's just trying to, if it's not funny, then what's the point?
Yeah, I agree.
But I thought Sleep Token Fatigue was a really good.
I don't know that I coined that, but
Who else said it?
I don't know. I didn't hear it from anywhere else.
You heard it here first, folks. He doesn't know if he said it first, but I'm saying he did. Sign it up. Patent it.
Anything else?
No.
I'm excited to hear more.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We are Great Measures. My name is Richard. This is Judson. That was Gethsemane by Sleep Token.
Great Measures. Gethsemane is such a cool word, too, They really do well. I really like the words.
I've really had to focus on being able to say it because I feel like it's something I'll stumble
Just
over.
Gethsemane. Gethsemane. It's not Gethsemane.
I'll stumble
It's
over
Gethsemane. Garden of Gethsemane.
it. Have a wonderful day, everybody.